Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Knaus. So it's basically a Knaus box star, but it's basically built by Euro Caravanning, which is part of Knaus, and it's a Van Tourer. So it's based on the Fiat Ducato. It's a left-hand drive model. Lots and lots of factory extras, which I'll get to in just a minute. So we will start under the bonnet. Over on the left hand side here, we've got a little cover which covers up two of the things under here. So once you've taken this cover off here, you'll have access to this, which is your power steering fluid. Engine coolant is the one to the right of that, and you've also got your washer fluid over in that corner as well. The engine oil gets topped up through this cap just on top of the cover there, and your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one at the bottom. Your paint code is 210, and that's this white colour you see throughout. You've then got air conditioning information just here, chassis plate, and the upgraded Knaus chassis plate just there. So this is the one here that you want to go off. By the looks of it, it's pretty much the same, but they always have to put these, once they've converted the vehicle, sometimes they can be slightly different. So this is the one here you want to go off. Brake fluid is in this reservoir just here on the top right hand side, attached to the servo just behind it. And because this is a newer model with the engine battery in the cab under the floor, you've got a jump starting terminal under this little cap just here. So that's your positive just there, and your earthing point or your negative is this prong just here, and it does say only for jump start just here. So that is under the bonnet. You can see there you've got the branded Van Tourer logo instead of the original Fiat one. Would have been done from factory. So inside what is the driver's door, so it's the near side front door, we've got the bonnet release handle just here. There may well be some electrical bits. Yeah, so you've got your leisure battery underneath this driver's seat. Cruise control is from this left-hand stalk just here. Lights on and off is off this one just here. You've got all of the steering wheel controls there, so you've got your volume and your sort of answer and decline calls. You've got the 6-speed manual gearbox on this one, and all of your sort of nice modern stereo system. The screen at the top there does work the reversing camera as well. I believe that to be factory fitted. So when you put the vehicle into reverse, your reversing camera comes up there nicely on that screen. Various kind of extra buttons and bits and pieces, but underneath here as well, you've got your USB and aux point, as well as your cup holders and bits there. Both of these front seats swivel round, so if you want to swivel them, pull this little handle here backwards, and then the seat is then released for spinning all the way around. And when you put it back to where it was originally, locks into position. Same on the other side, the handle's just here on that one. So nice and easy, all working really well. The standard factory fitted swivel seats do tend to be a little bit smoother than the aftermarket ones, but of course much more expensive. Diesel filling point, so you will need your ignition key to open this up. Hookup point, so having access to a hookup cable means that your battery charger will be on all the time, and that you have access to anything that's 240 volt powered. So you can use the fridge on the mains there on that, any 240 volt plug sockets inside. You will need the electric hookup plugged in. Your wastewater drain off point is this little piece under here. The handle for it is the red one just there. We carry on now on this near side. We've got your toilet cassette locker. So it's a Thetford toilet cassette with a freshwater flush, which I can tell by the blue pipe being there on the left hand side. So all that really means is that you will need a little bit of fresh water in the fresh tank if you want to be able to flush the toilet. To take the actual cassette out, lift up on the yellow tab and pull the whole thing towards you. You'll then be able to take the whole thing out. All you need to know really is that you've got the drain off point is this one here, so you undo this and drain it out from there. and that when you're physically draining it out, you should be holding down the little yellow button there, and that will basically help pressure in the system when you're actually draining it out. So that is your toilet cassette. This vent just here underneath the logo here is your Truma boiler vent. So if you did have the boiler lit up on gas, you'll be able to feel hot air pumping out underneath here, and that is one sure way of knowing that it's definitely working properly. If if you were wondering. Right, so at the back of the van here, I've got these doors open. Reason being that you've got your gas locker here. So the gas locker itself is a really, really good size. You have got space in here for 2 of these 6 kilo propane bottles if you want them. Propane, in my opinion, is a lot better to use than butane. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference in the summer months, but when it comes to winter, propane just works a hell of a lot better because it's got a much higher sort of freezing point. So it just generally speaking, propane is easier. Just means you haven't got to swap out the pigtails and things like that. So that's why we fit propane. So if you want to turn these bottles on, you go anti-clockwise round to the left, that turns your bottle on. Clockwise round to the right will turn it off. As a sort of general rule, I like to mention that if you turn the bottle all the way on until the dial stops moving, when you come back to the van to turn it off, the dial will only go one way, so you know that you've got it right on or off. That's it really. You've got a hand tightening pigtail on this one, so you just do it by hand. It's a hand wheel is what you call it, and the actual regulator is just up here. So there is your gas locker. I'll leave that on for the minute because I've got a few bits to show you. Access to the boiler is just there, I believe, underneath the little cover here. Right, so trying not to step on the muddiness, get the van dirty. Right, so we're on the off side now, so we're on the passenger side of this particular vehicle, obviously because it's left-hand drive. So at the very back just here, I'm not very good at German, but that means water. So this is where you fill up your fresh water. Every once in a while, it's always a good idea. Same as the toilet cassette, they've got a little rubber seal on the toilet cassette. This rubber seal in here, it's really important to keep on top of lubricating that with a type of silicone lubricant. Anything, if you just get general, go down to Halfords or anything like that, they should have a can of silicone lubricant. And just keeping up to date on the rubber seals there will, stop this from leaking and all of that sort of stuff, stop it from getting really stiff to take off. So that's your fresh water filling point just there. Behind this door, if I just put it across a little bit, we've got these 2 Dometic fridge vents just here. So at the moment I've got the fridge lit up on gas, and if I wanted to double check that, I can put my hand over the top of this vent just here on the right. So if you look down this little gap here, you can just about see the top of the exhaust for the fridge. The flame's just down here on this bottom right hand side. It runs up through the flue and comes out just here. So that's why you can double check it by putting your hand there. You've got the nice colour matched awning on the roof there, and because it's one of the Tourer Omnistore versions, it kind of sits flush with the vehicle rather than bulbous hanging out to one side, which definitely helps if you're going down any sort of narrow country lanes. On the passenger side, it feels weird calling it the passenger side because it's left-hand drive, but it is. Jack and wheel brace is in this little section here, and obviously you just got your glove box storage bits and pieces in there. Another small one up top here as well. And that's it really. So I'll jump inside now, show you a few bits. You've got the full-sized fly screen just here so that you can have the door wide open like this and still completely seal up from the inside, which is always really nice. Pull that back across for now. Okay, so as soon as you walk in, you'll notice you've got this little switch down here, which is for your step coming in and out. So it's an electric step. Works really, really well. Nice and strong as well. It's always a good sign. So the control panel is just here above the sink, and it's kind of like the heart of the vehicle, telling the the electronic systems in this particular van what to do and when to do it. So you haven't got a specific switch which is your on and off switch, as in you haven't got one which is marked with on and off on it. This top right hand button just here is the one that essentially turns it all on and off, although it is just a lights switch. Once you've turned the light switch on just there, you'll then be able to use all the other buttons. So once you've turned that one on, you can then go around and use any of your lights. This one does the light above your head just here, so that gives you the access to using that. Next door to that, you've got this little tank heater switch, which is only really necessary in the winter months, and it just stops the tanks from freezing up. And your water pump switch. So once you've got that water pump switch on, you will then have pressure at the tap, on the cold and the hot side. And that's really important to do before you start trying to light the boiler up and all that sort of stuff to get your hot water. It's really important to do exactly what I've just done there, and just basically make sure that you've got water in the boiler. So the reason that's important, if I just take this little piece out. So the reason that's important is, so this is the boiler just here. If this boiler isn't full of water and you try and light it up on the gas to heat the water up, essentially what you're going to be doing is heating up nothing at all. So it is really important, and it is always really helpful to point out that if you do want to heat the water up and you do want to get hot water around the van, you have to make sure that it's actually full up. And the only way to do that is by doing what I've just done there. There's no sort of gauge on the boiler that you can see how much water's inside of it or anything like that. So just pulling the water through and making sure that you get pressure at hot and cold is enough to prove to you that you've got water in the boiler. Okay. Once you've done that, once you have made sure that you've got pressure on hot and cold, you can do whatever you like with the boiler and it won't damage it. So it's just something I always like to point out. It's really important because that really is the most important, well, not important, but the most expensive part of the van is the boiler. So always important to keep on top of that. Anyway, you've got on the left hand side here, so you've got the gauges for all the sort of water levels, battery voltages and things like that. So if we press the top one just here, it comes up telling us on this right hand gauge here the vehicle battery voltage. So that's at full power, so that's absolutely fine. Next button down, the middle one here, is our leisure battery voltage, also full power, so that's absolutely perfect. And the bottom one here, if we look at the left hand scale, is going to show us the freshwater level, and you've got 2/3 of a tank in that particular tank. So that is it. When you start the engine up, you should get this little G come up, lit up, and that'll just basically be telling you that your split charger is working and that your engine is charging both leisure and engine batteries at the same time. And if you've got the hookup cable plugged in, you'll have this little symbol on the top right hand side light up. So that's about it really. That's the control panel. Just here you've got a Continental socket just there and a 12-volt socket underneath that. So the Truma combi boiler dials itself is just this black one just here. So really simple, it's gas only, so there's no electronic functionality on the boiler whatsoever, it's just gas only. So if you've got the gas switched on and you've already checked that you've got water in the tank, you can go up 1 or up 2 for hot water only. Up 1 is 40 degrees of hot water and up 2 is 60. So going up is hot water only. Back to the middle turns the boiler off completely. Down 1 is heating only, and down 2 is heating and hot water at the same time. Anytime that there's water being heated up inside the boiler, you'll get the little orange symbol come up on the left hand side as well, which is why it goes out when we go to heating. So after a little while, after about sort of 10-15 minutes or so, you will have hot air pumping out through the vents if you leave it on heating only. And after about half an hour or so of having it on hot water only, you'll have hot water at the taps. So hopefully that makes sense. In this wardrobe just to the right of us, we've just got all of your paperwork in there. So really important, all of that stuff's in there if you ever needed to, you know, have a good look through this, it should be the original. There you go. So I think the previous owner has underlined quite a lot of important stuff just in case you ever need it, but that's the original Euro caravanning booklet in there. So you've then got, next door to that, you've got the 2-burner hob. So you would need an igniter of some description to light either of these up, because there's no ignition on these whatsoever. So some sort of a small, or you know, like a candle lighter, a long reach one, is normally what I'd recommend for those. So that's your 2-burner hob. Under there you've got loads of storage. Actually, it is really quite a lot of storage, which is always nice in all these cupboards. Right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is your fridge. So this is a three-way fridge, which essentially meaning that it works in 3 different energies. So you've got mains, so your hookup cable, 12 volt, which is when your engine's running, and gas. So they are the 3 ways that this fridge will work. The 12 volt just here when your engine's running is only for holding temperature. So, you know, you have to pre-cool the fridge before you switch it over to this one. And this basically just holds the temperature that you've already put inside the fridge. So at the moment, because I haven't got the engine running and I haven't got a hookup plugged in, the only way I can use the fridge is at the bottom here on gas. So I'm just going to turn it off for a second so I can show you it working from scratch, because there is a bit of a process to lighting it up on the gas. So I'll show you that one first. So if you're like me at the moment, you don't have a hookup plugged in, but you do have the gas on, we'll go all the way down to the bottom for gas. Once we've done that, we can press on the igniter switch just here, whilst pressing on this one here at the same time. You then look at this little gauge, and if that's going up into the green like it is now, you can let go of that. It's just gone out. Okay, so good example really. So pressing on the ignition switch just there will set the igniter going. You just basically need to hold on to this little pilot flame here until this goes right up into the green. You can then hold on to this and let go of the igniter because it has lit, and we know it's lit because it's gone up into the green there, and then we can let go of this. Once you've let go of this, just keep your eye on that and make sure that stays up in the green, which it has done. And that means that the flame is on and it's working. This little bar here will not and cannot go up unless there's a flame down on the thermocouple. So it's a really accurate way of making sure that the fridge is definitely working. So if that's up in the green, it's definitely lit. Okay, so that's how you light it up on the gas. If you had the electric hookup plugged in, you would just select the electric hookup symbol and just leave it alone. That's all you have to do. And like I said, if you've already pre-cooled the fridge before, you can then select 12 volt just here, start the engine up and drive off, and it will keep your fridge cold whilst you're driving. So again, hopefully that makes sense. I know that they can be a little bit tricky to get your head around to start with, but you'll get the hang of that really, really quickly. In the bathroom here, we've got the actual toilet itself over on the left hand side. As I said, that is a Thetford toilet, and they're super easy to use. All you've got really is the blue button on the top of the toilet itself just there. So that is your toilet flush switch. Press that button there and the flush fluid pumps around the toilet just there. You can then drain it out into the cassette by pulling this grey handle towards us, just like that, and then push it back. So that will now have drained everything out of this toilet bowl into the cassette, and that's it. That's how you use the toilet. So you've then got the tap / shower point in here. So this piece will pull out from here and push all the way back in when you're not using it as a shower. It does meet up here, and you've also got a light in here as well. So that is the bathroom. You know, pretty straightforward, not much to sort of go through, to be completely honest. So there you go. Under this cover again, I did notice that you've got your gas isolators here. So you've got the boiler gas isolator here, so you can turn that 90 degrees. This is the same for all three of these. So you've got the boiler, the fridge, and the 2 burner hob. So you can turn them 90 degrees so that they're facing long ways, and that will isolate the gas from any one of those appliances individually. So I pop this back on, making sure that I've covered everything. So again, loads of storage over the cupboards here. So yeah, I think that's about it really. If I just tell you what I'll do, I'll just pop this back over here a sec. Make sure there's nothing else I can show you. So access to the top of the fresh tank. So I'll just open this up. So that's access to it just there. There's probably another access point as well. So if I just put this back on, put it on properly. Yeah, so another access point here. Okay, so in here, so that little blue part just there is the actual pump itself, and this last cupboard over here, of course. So this little dial just here is actually your freshwater drain off point. So when you turn that, it will basically open up. This little grey part just here is the drain. So when you turn on that, it basically opens that up and allows the water from inside this tank to drain out onto the floor. So that is how you physically drain out the water tank. Good access to the tank there. I mean, normally you'd struggle to get any access at all to the fresh tank. Right, so that's all nice and neatly sort of tucked away under there. So if you didn't know about it, you wouldn't even know it was there. And it's just a case of putting all these cushions back then. Nice and easy. Right, so I think I've pretty much covered everything I can. If you think there's anything I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.